So I responded to Matt Walsh on one of his posts and I said, you should try doing a video on the anti Semitism hate speech laws that are being passed into legislation and how some of your coworkers literally tweet out some of the hate speech phrases while accusing the now fired coworker of being hateful. Might lose your job though. Matt Walsh responded, he said, I'm against any hate speech laws, including anti Semitism hate speech laws. I think the category of hate speech and hate crime shouldn't exist. I've never had any problem saying any of this. I've been very consistent voice on this issue for a decade, but you guys are just determined to deny that for whatever reason. So he responded to me and said, I'm against these anti-Semitism hate speech laws. I responded to that. I said, your news network spends a lot more time falsely accusing others of hate speech than they do talking about the hate speech laws that are being passed. I think you stay silent on the issue because you're afraid of being falsely smeared as anti-Semitic by your coworkers. Before I explain why I'm doing this or what that means to those who don't know, I want to read what Thomas Massey said because he saw what I typed, responded to it. And Thomas Massey is one of the only people in Congress who has stood up to these anti-Semitism hate speech laws. Almost every Republican's in on it. And Thomas Massey constantly gets smeared as an anti-Semite for believing in the First Amendment. And they always straw man it and frame it as something it's not. So here's what Thomas said to that comment. He responded and he said, the categories hate crime and hate speech and conspiracy where there's no activity are illegitimate. Our justice system must prosecute crime, not thoughts, which is true. I agree. Here's what I want to explain. In 2019, I'm sorry for being like, so I just have to set the record and like set the scene of what's going on, or else some people will be lost, because a lot of people follow every video and it's interesting because we're actually making progress. Others, they only watch a few, so I don't want to just act like everybody knows what I'm talking about. In 2019, Trump passed an executive order putting anti-Semitism hate speech rules through executive order for college campuses, creating safe spaces. While PragerU and Daily Wire were saying they were against safe spaces, Republicans were creating them. Ron DeSantis passed a bill in Florida that also had hate speech phrases. And once I realized that they were total hypocrites, they said that they were against hate speech rules and safe spaces. They all pretty much boxed me out, blacklisted me, smeared, censored, silenced, and talked shit on any conservative who realized they were doing this. So fast forward 5 years, it's just happening more and more. Kristi Noem's passing them. Governor Abbott passed one yesterday with the word safe space literally in his tweet. He also said that they need to look at free speech policies at their school and monitor rhetoric. You know, it's all speech policing. It's not crime policing. It's hate speech rules and laws to police speech and thoughts and activism. So now Matt Walsh is talking about it because Candace got fired. It's happening more and more through government, and everybody realizes now. So now he's like, I'm against anti-Semitism hate speech laws. I believe that he is, but how come he's never made a video on it? How come he never talks about it? He talks about the left all the time. Like, he's probably talked about the left 10,000 times. Cool. But this is my issue with a lot of conservative commentators. Yes, the left sucks. Talk about it, point it out. But if our team also sucks, we're never going to win. If Trump and DeSantis are the best that we have and they're both infringing on the First Amendment, that's not good enough. They should. How come nobody talked about that for 5 years? Matt Walsh only talked about it because I almost ratioed him on his own post. Everybody knows that he's covering that up. And what I said there, I believe to be true. I think Matt Walsh is against hate speech laws. I do think he does oppose the anti-Semitism hate speech laws, but he never really vocalizes it or talks about it that much because he'll get smeared as an anti-Semite, just like Candace Owens, just like everybody, just like Thomas Massey. So he's against it, but he knows it's just easier to talk about the left because he works at the Daily Wire, a place where they seem to have their loyalties elsewhere, and then they'll call it hate speech to say that you even said that. So it's like making these people, asking them these questions peacefully, law-abiding. I'm not saying to do anything weird or crazy, just asking them tough questions on social media. It's now getting them to talk about it. Matt's like, you guys always try to pretend like I'm not for free speech. Dude, it's been 6 years. I've never seen you talk about it one time. Why doesn't he he's so concerned about free speech, right? He talks about that all the time. Why doesn't he make a video and say, listen, Ron DeSantis is infringing on free speech. Governor Abbott, Donald Trump, Youngkin, Noem, Huckabee Sanders, Governor Kemp, Like, it's not just a fringe thing. It's happening in almost every state. It's happening in 30 different states when it comes to anti-protest laws. They're creating safe spaces. These are the same people that cried about safe spaces on college campus. They said, oh, they're trying to create a safe space. We're against the facts, feelings. And they've been doing it for 5 years, not Matt Walsh specifically, but the politicians are doing it. And then Daily Wire, Turning Point USA, Charlie Kirk, Tim Pool, all these people try to act like it's not happening. And then anybody who comes on their show and talks about it, Tim Pool just screams at you. And I believe that Ben Shapiro and Charlie Kirk are trying to box everybody out. That's why nobody even knows that this is happening. So I'm not trying to just pick on Matt Walsh, but I do believe that if he told his audience what was truly happening in the Republican Party and that they were selling out for donors and lobbyists and they were passing laws against the Constitution, his coworkers would smear him as anti-Semitic. So he just doesn't say anything until he's questioned to the point where now he's unpopular on Twitter. Everything he says, everybody just laughs at him because they know he won't talk about that. And he's like, I've always been against it. Show me where. Yeah, saying I'm for free speech. Yeah, I'm for, Ben Shapiro says that too. Charlie Kirk says it. A lot of people say they're for free speech, but then they turn around and they call everybody anti-Semites while those laws are being passed into legislation, deeming words and thoughts, and in some cases, just objectively true statements as hate speech. And they never talk about it. And I think that this is the perfect time to talk about it. Usually no one cares because Candace is a high-profile person who got fired for anti-Semitism. So they say, it's a great time to talk about it because anti-Semitism is not just a feeling that Ben Shapiro or Jeremy Boring has or some, religious leader that feels offended by what Candace said. It's laws and rules and phrases that are being passed through government as hate speech, and they're all in on it. And Matt Walsh has not made a serious objection to it in 5 or 6 years until now. And then he's like, yeah, I always talk about it. You don't though. Yeah, I haven't seen a single video on it. Like just saying, I'm for free speech. Cool. Well, what about the fact that our party's infringing on it? Where's the big video? Where's the big showcase of it? It doesn't exist because he knows he's under pressure he's on a short leash at Daily Wire. He's on a short leash where anytime he talks about having loyalty to America, they cut him off and say, no, but you should have loyalty to this foreign country. And then he just shuts his mouth and makes money. So it is what it is. God bless him. He does a lot of good work. Everybody can make whatever videos they want to make. It's not like I control what Matt Walsh makes or anything because he gets to make what he's inspired to make. This is just my personal opinion. I don't think he's not talking about this because he's not inspired to talk about it. I think he knows the consequences of talking about it. Just talk about the left. Don't talk about this. And I want to give you an example with Jordan Peterson real quick. Jordan Peterson came to America, right? He ran away from Canada because the Canadian conservatives are liberal and the liberals are even more liberal. So Jordan Peterson runs to America because he's like, oh, Canada, they won't let me say pronouns. Oh, I got my vaccine. Oh, no, they're persecuting me. Who would have known? Big Pharma was corrupt. Ben Shapiro never told me. He's like doing this little thing. So he runs to America. God bless Jordan Peterson. And then as soon as he gets here, he's been here for a couple months, wearing cowboy hats or whatever, going to Nashville, not literally wearing cowboy hats, but he's like out at Kid Rock's bar being like, oh, America, this is cool, and then he tweets out this stupid anti-Second Amendment propaganda that Matt McConaughey did a little political speech. Listen, Matt McConaughey's a great actor. He's a likable guy, but his speech was anti-Second Amendment propaganda. He was trying to come off as reasonable and calm, just like Obama did when he used to talk against the Second Amendment. It sounds so reasonable because they're good actors. So this is all I'm saying. I know I'm going to sound like a dick, but I mean it. If you run from Canada and you flee to America, learn the first 2 amendments, bucko. Okay? If you can't figure it out and you're posting anti-Second Amendment propaganda on your Twitter page because you're such a weak Canadian that you fall for like Matt McConaughey anti-Second Amendment propaganda, I think it's time to deport Jordan Peterson, let him set up a little Zoom call studio in Quebec or Toronto, and he could, Daily Wire, if they were really America first, they'd deport Jordan Peterson and let him do his show from Canada. He's a great voice who deserves the First Amendment, but if you can't even stand up for the Second Amendment in America, it's time to hit the road, bucko. We don't need liberal conservatives in America. Keep that shit in Canada. It's annoying. But here's the point I want to make. I'm not just being rude. Daily Wire said nothing. When he pushed anti-Second Amendment propaganda, Daily Wire didn't care. They don't police him. They don't call it hate speech. They don't say you've gone too far. It's like, oh, Jordan Peterson's just an individual. It's just like Candace Owens. Candace Owens, they're like, oh, we're not hiring Candace Owens to be us. We're hiring her for her personality and her opinions. That's what they said 5 months ago. Now they're firing her, and Jeremy Boring admits on a Twitter space that he's not hiring people to disagree with him. So what is his main agenda? If it's not the Second Amendment or the First Amendment, what is his main agenda? It seems to be a foreign country. It seems to be hate speech. It seems to be a word that he defines as hate, but he can't even really describe it. And he thinks that everybody who disagrees with his foreign policy is hateful and must hate everyone. This is who they are. I'm not just picking on Jordan Peterson because he's got a funny voice and he's Canadian. It's like, come to America, learn the first two amendments, bucko. If you can't, go home. You know what I'm saying? We don't need weaker conservatives here. And the Daily Wire, where are their priorities at? When Ben Shapiro tweets out, when Ben and Jerry's is boycotting America and talking shit about America, Ben Shapiro says, I disagree with them, but I still like their ice cream. I'm still going to buy their ice cream. As soon as Ben and Jerry boycott Israel and speak against Israel, even they are Jewish, but that's what they're doing. They're more like liberal, progressive, like anti-Zionists, I guess, or something. But now Ben Shapiro's like, it's time to boycott their ice cream. So what does it show me? That when they do stuff in America, it's like, oh, I'll still eat their ice cream. But the second they do it to a foreign country, stop eating their ice cream. Jordan Peterson is against the Second Amendment. He doesn't even know it because he's like, oh, that sounds reasonable. Yeah, it sounds reasonable to a dingbat Canadian. I'm not saying all Canadians. I love Canadians. They're very nice. But like, Canada doesn't have the First Amendment or the Second Amendment. They're shutting down their social media pages. They don't even let Canadians look at real information anymore. They got like a communist government with Justin Trudeau over there. And then Jordan Peterson comes to America and is like, oh, that sounds very reasonable. Yeah, to a Canadian dummy like you, Jordan Peterson, it sounds really reasonable. But to an American, we see right through Barack Obama and Matt McConaughey. It's anti-Second Amendment, gun-grabbing propaganda to slowly infiltrate America and turn it into Canada. And we don't want it that way. So, one, learn the why America is slightly, better in some ways. In some ways it's not, but in some ways it is. And then second, ask yourself why the Daily Wire said nothing to him when he was down to infringe on the Second Amendment. But if he ever switched up on the foreign policy, they'd probably fire him like Candace Owens, okay? We all know what's going on. It's not working anymore. And the only reason Matt Walsh even said that he's against the anti-Semitism speech laws is because everybody is realizing that he's a phony and he's kind of like a little court jester, Daily Wire dog leash walking him. You know what I'm saying? And he never mentions it. Make a whole 5-10 minute video on it. Why? You're not that passionate about the First Amendment. No, it's not interesting to you. It's not that it's not interesting to him. It's he knows the consequences. Daily Wire, they prioritize something. It's not America. It's not the First Amendment. It's not the Second Amendment. It's something else. I wonder what. I wonder why. Don't ever say it, because then they'll accuse you of hate speech. The same people that say there's no such thing as hate speech. The liberals just hate me. They hate the truth. The truth sounds like hate speech. Facts don't care about your feelings. Yeah, that's what they think for everything but one race, one religion, and one country. And then all of a sudden, facts go out the window. It's all feelings. The First Amendment doesn't matter. The Second Amendment doesn't matter. You're just being hateful. And then they blacklist you, smear you, and behind the scenes call you mean names because they can't out-debate you. That's what's going on. Everybody is now figuring it out. That's why I'm talking about it. And that's why I'm questioning Matt Walsh. It's not because I hate the guy, but it's like, I used to think that these people were just like naive or they didn't know. Now I know what it is. It's called being a sellout. It's like, if I sold Gatorade and I thought the ingredients were trash, they have like gross food dyes in them. It's like, oh, Anomaly just likes Gatorade now. It's like, maybe they paid me. You know what I'm saying? Maybe I make more money if I say that or I don't say that. That's what everybody's doing. I used to think these people just didn't know it was happening. I'm like, maybe they just don't know the First Amendment's being infringed on. Maybe they know. They just know. How much am I making? How much do I get every month? It's a lot of money. If I said this, if Matt took a real stance against the anti-Semitism speech laws, they'd call him anti-Semitic. And now his income would be in jeopardy. His job would be in jeopardy. And nobody wants to lose a lot of money because the Daily Wire is probably a cash cow. They're crushing, which is fine. I'm just saying, it's like, that's what it's, so is CNN and MSNBC and Fox. It's like, they pay you the big bucks to sit there and never cross a certain line. And if you cross it, they fire you like Tucker. It's called being a sellout. You know what you're doing. Everyone knows what you're doing. Everyone needs to play by certain rules. And I'm not saying like any company allows you to do whatever, but this is why America sucks now, is because it used to be like, oh yeah, I'll make some sacrifices to make money. Everybody does. But it's like, what are the sacrifices you're making? Are you a conservative commentator that has to pretend like you don't care about the First Amendment when it comes to one group of people? Because that's not a small topic. It's like literally the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, which is perhaps the most important, debatable, but perhaps And you have to gaslight people into thinking that you don't know what's going on until they complain. And then you say, yeah, I'm against it, but I'm not really going to talk about that much because if I did, you know, that's what's going on. So people are being sellouts. They're selling out their constitution, their country, their political party for money. And, you know, it's not one person's fault or one group's fault because a lot of people are probably watching this, not everybody, but some people are probably watching this thinking, I'd probably do what Matt Walsh is doing for a couple million. I would never talk about the speech laws. So it's like, so you're just Anderson Cooper then. You're Don Lemon. You're like the right-wing version, you know? A lot of people, they don't have conviction to their morals or what they believe. So they're like thinking, yeah, I would probably stay silent on that one topic if I could do these other ones. And that's why the country is where it is. And I wanted to say this too before I get to Charlie Kirk and Tim Pool is a video is going viral now of Jordan Peterson debating Destiny, some left-wing guy that I have no idea. I anytime I see his video, I just tune it out because I'm like, oh, this is another like fake debate or whatever. But Jordan Peterson schools him on the vaccine. And this is another point I'm going to make. Was it good? Sure. Yeah. Jordan Peterson's not wrong. But the thing is, like, when did that really matter? When were millions of lives on the line and kids and college kids that are 18, 19 that were forced to take it to play sports? Like, when was that key moment where it actually mattered? 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022. That's when it mattered. When it mattered in 2019, actually early 2020, before the COVID vaccine, Ben Shapiro put out a video where he said that vaccine mandates were okay because it's equivalent to if you don't get a vaccine, it's like polluting a river that the whole community needs. That's what he said before. He actually did switch his stance with the COVID vaccine. You got to give Ben Shapiro credit. But in January or February of 2020, Ben actually put out a video as they were doing vaccine mandates in New Jersey and California, trying to do them before the pandemic. Ben made a case for that. Then he went on to basically go after Louis Farrakhan for telling black people not to take the vaccine. And Ben Shapiro is like, how dare you? Black people should be taking the vaccine. How dare you, Louis Farrakhan? Oh my gosh, anti-Semitic. Oh my gosh, you need it. And now people call me Nation of Islam because I laughed that Ben was wrong about the vaccine and Farrakhan was telling people not to get it. So now I must be Nation of Islam, right? Because Ben Shapiro lied hysterically about the vaccine for 2 years. So that makes me Nation of Islam. I have to say, Ben Shapiro, you're always right, and Louis Farrakhan, you're always wrong, or else I'm Nation of Islam. I'm a Christian. I'm not Islamic, and I'm not Nation of Islam. I have nothing to do with them. It's just ridiculous. But anyway, it's like, okay, what was Jordan Peterson doing when it really mattered? He took the vaccine and then he cried like on Twitter. He's like, oh, I can't believe what's happening to me. You tricked me. You tricked me. And it's like, is that the leader you want in battle? Could you imagine George Washington? America wouldn't exist if George Washington was like, oh my gosh, I got tricked. Like, it's like, wow, what great leadership we have here. Someone who's 3 years late who gets tricked and then like gets hysterical about it as if it's their fault for tricking you. It's like the logic of Jordan Peterson and Ben Shapiro over this. I'm not mad that they made a mistake or an error or whatever you want to call it. It's just laughable that they try to act like they're the victim and they're not, they were never wrong. It was that they got lied to and how are they going to know? It's like Ben Shapiro's whole argument was like, how, Pfizer and the government lied to me. Like, it's not like I was wrong. I got lied to and I believe them. It's like, oh yeah, the government's never lied before and Pfizer's never lied. Of course they have. All they do is lie. So you're an idiot. It's like saying I believed Rachel Maddow, so I'm not responsible for my thoughts. She is. It's like, grow up, And then Jordan, it's the same thing. It's like when he realized that he's like, I took your vaccines, I took them all, and now you won't let me travel still. And it's like he's like having like a little girl, like boy, child fit over it. And it's like, yeah, Jordan, you complied to everything, every vaccine mandate that the Canadian government told you to do, and now they're not letting you travel. Oh no, who would have, like, the way, it's not that he made the mistake or the error. It's like him crying like a little baby, like he's so shocked. Like these are not my leaders. They're way dumber than me. They're way faker than me. They're wrong about the most important issues of our time, but they're really good at debating women and feminists and liberals. Like that's all they're good at. But Jordan Peterson is an interesting guy. He's helped a lot of people. I'm grateful of him. The point I'm just trying to make, though, is like, these are the games that they play. Nobody knows that they're passing anti-free speech hate laws. Republicans are, and they don't know that people like Jordan Peterson, Ben Shapiro are all playing along to the hate speech laws, and they either support them or stay silent on them and then use those hate speech accusations on other people. Jordan Peterson does it all the time. They don't even know that this is happening, because if they had to debate actual conservatives who weren't fake and stupid, then everybody would know. They would get smoked in a debate on this topic. So they don't. They pair them up with Destiny. 4 years later, and now I'm a vaccine hero. 4 years too late. Yeah. Oh wow, you beat a liberal on the easiest topic to debate 4 years after everybody already knows, and there's no risk or penalty for being right about this topic when it was all on the line. You were on the wrong side of history. Ben Shapiro at a college campus, Charlie Kirk with a depressed liberal who takes drugs. Like these are not impressive things that people are easily impressed by. And I'm not trying to be a hater, but it's like I believe they kind of set this up like a Roman theater where it's like, we're going to sell you out. We're going to take donor money. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're going to justify these speech laws and not talk about them. And in order so nobody knows, we're going to box everybody else out and then put the least impressive person in front of us to debate so people think we're winning something. It's like a Romney versus an Obama debate. That's how I see these people. It's like Romney versus Obama. And I'm like, I don't like either of them. And they're like, oh, you're just a hater. You're just a hater anomaly. You don't like Romney. What are you, Obama? No. Are you a Democrat? No. They're both the same. You know what I'm saying? And I'm starting to think that that's what right-wing media is. It's like a giant distraction circus. So I'm not trying to be too rude, but I do want to repeat these topics before I move on. Daily Wire cut ties with Candace Owens and called her an anti-Semite over her liking tweets and her saying stuff that they didn't want to hear. Yet mysteriously, none of them seem to have the capabilities to out-debate her on the topic. So they just do what they've done to people for 5 years. Blacklist, smear, talk shit about. But like Andrew Klavan's like, oh, Candace did this and that. Shut up, Andrew Klavan. You're way too stupid to debate Candace Owens. She would make you look like a baby with a binky. Baby. That would be you in a debate with Candace. So it's like your company gets rid of her, and then you have all these stupid takes that nobody even listens to because your show sucks. And even with their advertising budget, nobody wants to listen to you because it's boring. But it's like you have all these thoughts when she leaves, yet nobody, while she was there, seemed capable of debating her. With Ben, even over the yay stuff, it's like, why not? He's talking bad about Candace all the time. Why not talk to her? Doesn't she work at your business? It's like these people have all these opinions about everyone. I'm not above it. I'm speaking right now. I'll debate any of these people. I've been wanting. People say, why don't you debate them? I've been asking for 5 years, and it's not like I need the attention. I know they're lying, but I know their strategy. Their strategy is debate a liberal so you think they're impressive, even though they're annoying and just so cringe and not, their personalities all suck. Debate the liberal to make themselves look amazing. Figure out which conservatives know what they're doing and know that they're supporting and working with politicians who are passing anti-free speech laws. Blacklist them, make a list, and start doing guilt by association. Candace liked this tweet. Anomaly got retweeted. This person's that person. Start calling them names. Smear everybody as anti-Semitic as the anti-Semitism speech laws. So it's like you're using the hate speech laws against the conservative party, and then just find another like depressed drug addict liberal to prop up so nobody knows that it's even happening. Like, I know that's what they're doing. It's that strategy of like box everyone out who knows, only have on pastors who agree with us and stuff like that. And then, smear everybody once they're gone. Have a debate with people. So I just wanted to say, like, that's the game that they're playing over there. Jordan Peterson is cool with anti-gun propaganda in America. He should go back to Canada. But in general, if he's going to move here, learn the Second Amendment, bro. Stop falling for like political sob stories like a liberal. The dude is like a more emotional than a liberal. Oh, Matthew McConaughey made a lot of sense there. If you're stupid, yeah. I mean, everyone makes sense if they tell you a story and try to take your rights, if that's how dumb you are. But it's like, in general, why did that not get reprimanded by the Daily Wire? Because the First and Second Amendment aren't that important to them. What's really important is the hate speech laws for one race, one religion, and one country. And they'll call everyone hateful for noticing, and they'll barely mention it until it comes up. And then they'll be like, yeah, I'm against that. You're not, though. You weaponize those hate speech laws 1,000 times, and then you say I'm against them one time 5 years later when it bubbles up to the point where everybody knows you're full of shit.